The object of war is not to die for your country, but to make the other bastard die for his. And in presidential war, the object is not to die at all.
Presidential war. What is it good for? Intellectual stimulation. Say it again now. Presidential war. What is it good for? Presidential
Welcome to the Dead Presidents Podcast. I'm James J. Hamilton.
And I'm Stephen Lincoln Douglas.
And we're back with another exciting installment of Presidential War.
That's it. America's favorite presidential intellectual card game.
Indeed. This time we're going with 3-card hands. We've also turned over 3 category cards. We've allocated our 3 cards in our hand to the 3 categories. And we're going to go down the line.
That's it. First category is First Lady Looks.
I'm going with Nellie Arthur.
And I'm going with Frances Cleveland. A pretty good match.
A very good match.
It's actually a really good match.
Yeah. Nellie Arthur dying, of course, before her husband became president. There's probably not that many images of her, but she was pretty dang good looking and very much the Southern belle, and
Yeah.
I think noted to be a perfect specimen of the Southern belle.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not that great when you were living in New York during the Civil War, but not too hard on the eyes.
Not at all. Of course, Frances Cleveland was the darling of the country when she was First Lady. She has her image all over different products and things.
Yep.
It's a much more seen First Lady.
Right.
Nell Arthur.
Had the advantage of being only 21 when taking office, which
That's it.
is an advantage in the looks category, if not the accomplishments category.
Yeah.
Although she was pretty accomplished as well.
Indeed.
I don't think I can maintain Nell Arthur against Frank Cleveland.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think it's really a really close one. But yeah, I think we'll hand it to Frances Cleveland over Ellen Arthur.
It's a close call.
Indeed.
But we'll give it to Frances here.
And that'll bring us to Most Accomplished Parents. I had a tough choice with this one.
Me too. I went with Ulysses S. Grant.
I went with Teddy Roosevelt.
Wow.
Roosevelt's father was a pretty important figure in his life.
Mm-hmm.
A pretty important man.
That's right.
You know,
Interestingly, in kind of the same position as Chester Arthur, being married to a Southerner during the Civil War.
that's right.
And staying out of service because of that.
Yeah.
Ended up actually nominated to replace Chester Arthur
Yeah.
as collector of customs for the Port of New York, although that nomination was blocked and T.R. Sr. died shortly thereafter, but a noted civil service reformer.
That's it.
And pretty big guy.
Yeah. Donated a lot of money to charitable causes. Don't know as much about Martha Mitty Bullock Roosevelt, but Teddy Roosevelt wrote about her, quote, "My mother was a sweet, gracious, beautiful Southern woman, a delightful companion, and beloved by everybody. She was entirely unreconstructed to the day of her death."
Yeah, I read that she was considered as possibly an influence for the character of Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind.
That's interesting.
The author had interviewed a friend of of middies who had described her, and that may have been influential.
Wow. Pretty cool.
Yeah. TR's parents, pretty big figures.
Mhm.
And then Ulysses Grant, you got his father, Jesse Root Grant, pretty wealthy and successful businessman in the leather tannery business.
Mm-hmm.
Served as, I believe, mayor of one of the towns that he lived in, otherwise not as successful politically as he tried to be.
Staunch abolitionists
That's
were
true.
the Grants.
That's true.
And that actually led to a little bit of trouble with Mrs. Julia Grant.
Yeah.
Because
They were not approving of that marriage,
they were
and
not.
they were not really big fans of Julia even after that, causing some consternation for Ulysses. And, Jesse trying to cash in on his son's generalship to try to make money during the Civil War, also causing some problems for him and helping to lead to his infamous General Order number 10.
Yeah.
Was it number 10? Maybe it was number 11. The one where he banned Jewish traders from his department.
Yeah.
Some of them were partners with his father at the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he was a big figure as well, but maybe not as positive of an influence on his son.
Yeah.
Although he was the one who forced his son to go to West Point when he didn't want to.
Yeah.
That ended up being good for the country.
Yeah, it did. And I think, getting brought up in an abolitionist household probably did Grant more good than harm.
That's true.
And I think against the Roosevelts there, they might have accomplished a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we'll have to give it to the Roosevelts.
The donating to charitable causes and stuff, he had a lot of money to do it, Would Jesse Grant if he had the opportunity, it's hard to say, but...
Yeah, I don't know that he was much of a philanthropist with his money.
Right. So, I think we'll have to go with the Roosevelts here.
Indeed. It's going to bring us to our third category, which is First Lady accomplishment. Was kind of up against the wall with my choice here. I went Martin Van Buren, whose wife was well dead way before he became president.
That's it. And I got George H.W. Bush, so of course you got Barbara Bush.
Well, Martin Van Buren's wife, Hannah, a childhood sweetheart, gave birth to his 4 sons and died 10 years into their marriage of tuberculosis. He never remarried. Not much is really known about her personality. And then, when he was president, White House hostessing duties falling to his daughter-in-law, Angelica Singleton Van Buren, young, vivacious, and exciting First Lady.
Yeah.
Excited some people did a good job hostessing. Went on a tour of Europe with her husband and tried to bring some European style back to the White House. Had herself and some other honored guests standing on a dais in the Blue Room, which some uppity Frenchmen liked, but Americans thought it was too uppity, and it was removed.
You got to remember MVB trying to ward off the image of him as really upper class.
Yeah, stuff like that maybe contributing to the infamous gold spoon caricature of him towards the end of his term.
That's it.
So, probably not top tier in way of First Lady accomplishment coming from Van Buren.
Yeah. On the other hand, here we got Barbara Bush, who, pretty renowned as a First Lady. Her campaigns for promoting literacy, pretty well respected, writing several books.
One of 2 First Ladies to give birth to a future president.
That's right.
Very well-respected figure. Lots of people loved her. People loved her kind of just on a personal level more than her predecessor, Nancy Reagan.
Yeah.
Who, Nancy Reagan, infamously not really liking the Bushes.
Yeah.
For somewhat inexplicable reasons.
Yeah.
Maybe her astrologer told her that it was a bad idea.
Maybe. It could very well be. But yeah, as
Barbara
for Barbara
Bush
Bush,
not basing her husband's schedule on astrology,
that's an accomplishment.
allowing him to reign free.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Barbara Bush, I mean, kind of your, like, classic idea of a first lady, you know? The grandmother of the United States.
Yeah. According to the title of one of her books,
Yeah.
which she wrote several.
Yeah, that's it. As did her dogs. So her literacy work really extensive.
Yeah. She somehow got dogs to write books.
Yeah, pretty astounding.
A champion of literacy. No women or dogs in the Van Buren family writing any books.
Nope.
And so this category is going to go to Barbara Bush.
That's it.
Stephen Lincoln Douglas sweeping the first three categories.
We'll see how long that lasts. Alrighty, 3 more cards apiece drawn, and 3 new categories revealed, starting with most devious.
I'm going with William Henry Harrison.
I'm going with Bill Clinton. I mean, he killed a guy.
It's a matter of public record, right?
Yeah.
I heard about that on The View.
Yeah. I mean, might be a laundry list of people between he and his wife that have been rubbed out.
Well,
allegedly.
Yeah. Look forward to a future top 5 that might have to be more like a top 20.
Maybe.
If we want to get all the people that the Clintons have allegedly murdered.
Yeah, that's right. But obviously,
or it could just be a vast right-wing conspiracy to accuse them of murder.
It could be. But marital fidelity, not one of Clinton's strong points.
No.
He's notoriously sleeping around. He's a pretty devious man.
Yeah. Yeah, notoriously, lying about it and smearing the women who come forward about him.
Yeah.
A little bit devious there.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he necessarily lied under oath when he said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. Maybe they didn't actually have sex. He just came on her dress.
Well, in his deposition, sexual relations was defined in a specific way that he felt certain acts didn't fit into, but then eventually once the Ken Starr people got Monica Lewinsky to go into excruciating detail about what they did in every encounter, it was pretty clear that he definitely did stuff that fit that definition.
Yeah,
that's why they put all the excruciating details into the report.
That's it. And on the other hand, you got William Henry Harrison.
Yep.
I think.
Well, he didn't have much of a chance to be devious as president, but
no. I mean, he very deviously snuck out and bought his own groceries.
Yeah.
And I think maybe some Native Americans early on in Harrison's career would probably think that he is most devious.
Right, yeah, I would think that his deviousness would definitely be in his years as governor of Western Territories.
Yeah.
And did a lot of execution of Jefferson's Indian policy.
Yeah, William Henry Harrison may have killed more Native Americans than Bill Clinton has had Americans killed.
That could be true. He may have even killed more Native Americans than women Bill Clinton has had sex with, which is probably a much bigger number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, William Henry Harrison, was successful as a general in the wars out there. Generals probably need to be devious by nature
Yeah, I think to a certain extent.
generalness, but yeah, and William Henry Harrison wasn't, he at least, I don't know, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
He probably wasn't out there rubbing his hands together like, how many Native Americans can I kill today?
Right.
Or land can I rob off of them? But
Yeah.
that ended up being the result of a lot of it. Probably a lot more devious people
Yeah.
under him would then, swoop in to take advantage.
That's it. Despite that, though, I think we got to go Clinton here.
Yeah, I mean, just as president on the biggest stage, just like looking right into the camera
Yeah.
and saying a bald-faced lie.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't get, you don't get much more, like, of a liar than that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's he was a good one for that category there.
Yeah.
And that's gonna bring us to Best Politician.
Well, I've got John
I'm
Adams.
going with Ronald Reagan. Kinda wondering if this category or our next category would be better for him, but I chose
Yeah.
politician. He
Yeah.
really knew how to work a crowd.
That's true.
He, I think, became kind of what a lot of politicians aspire to be like. A lot of people are, trying to take from Reagan's book.
Yeah, certainly in the television age of
Yeah.
of the image and communication of a president, he would be top tier. He was really great at that. You don't really think of him as like kind of the back room, like hand slapping politician in the cigar, the smoke filled room.
No.
But he was almost like above that in a way. He had other people do that kind of stuff for him. But, I mean, he got a lot of stuff done. He had a Democratic House of Representatives, the whole time he was president, and managed to do a lot of things.
Yeah, that's it.
So he was pretty successful.
Yeah, he knew how to play the game a little bit.
Yeah.
And play it well.
Mm-hmm. And then you got John Adams, who was a politician certainly in a much, much different time.
Yeah.
Way back to, the days of the Revolution, he was one of the guys pushing for independence, trying to whip up the votes for that. One of the really the most important vote we've taken in our history.
Yeah.
And
He was quite instrumental in that.
Yeah.
And his political writings are pretty extensive.
Yeah.
Kind
of his...
They're at the beginning of American politics,
Yeah.
What's going to become American politics.
Yeah, him being the one who proposed George Washington to lead the Continental Army, kind of a shrewd political move to get Virginia in there and in supporting the Revolution. Then he kind of takes more of a statesmanship pose, at least, in as vice president and president in the era of, denying that parties exist and and needing the people to call you to serve rather than seeking power.
Right. And that becomes a bit of an issue with him, the factions that are forming.
Yeah. In a way, he kind of got outmaneuvered by Jefferson eventually, and then even by Hamilton and his own party.
Yeah.
So not as shrewd as some other politicians, but again, maybe ended up as more of a statesman. He and Reagan would be good in both categories.
Yeah.
But you'd probably give Reagan the nod in the politician category over Adams.
Yeah, if you think of just like a generic politician, like what you think they ought to be, just like your, what's like a good basis of a politician, somebody like Reagan is pretty much it, He makes people laugh, he's connecting with people, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, John Adams really more of his best kind of political operations early in his career, and not so much towards the end.
Yeah. We're leaning towards Reagan.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. A tough one.
Yep. Stephen Lincoln Douglas still dominating this game.
Yeah.
I haven't won a hand yet.
Ugh.
Let's see what I can do here with when we get to the next category, which is Best Statesman.
Yeah, this is where I was a little bit torn. Because my choice, Dwight Eisenhower, not too much political, but, you know, he had some little bit of statesmanship he had to deal with, but primarily general, war perspective, I guess.
Well, and I went with Harry Truman.
Yeah, Truman absolutely had to become a statesman when he was called.
Right. He was thrown right into the deep end of statesmanship.
That's it.
And he's kind of more of a machine politician from Missouri.
That's right.
All of a sudden sitting next to Churchill and Stalin and holding his own.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think I'd give this one to Truman just because we're still involved in the war there. I mean, Eisenhower. I mean, there's a lot going on with the Cold War there. But that obviously applies to Truman as well.
Yeah, Truman really, the first steps there, ending the war, getting the peace, Marshall Plan.
Yeah, got involved in
setting up
Korea.
NATO, getting into Korea. Yeah, kind of the foundations of the Cold War.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just ended up with more of a statesman-like image, kind of his buck stops here philosophy.
Yeah, I think Truman takes this one. Eisenhower, obviously things were super tense with the Soviet Union, during those years, but that really is going to come to a head with Eisenhower's successor. I'm thinking Harry Truman takes this one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I finally win a hand.
That's it.
Here. I'm down 5-1 at this point.
Well, I don't know. My track record in these games, I have about as much chance of winning presidential war as I have being murdered by the Clintons.
Well, it could be a high probability in this case.
That's it.
We're going with 3 more categories, 3 more presidents.
All right, so first up, we got pre-presidential accomplishments.
I've got John Quincy Adams.
Very nice. He's going up against Richard Nixon.
Nice.
Well, I mean, JQA, what didn't he do before he became president? I think, he really had the ideal rise in what should have culminated in a glorious presidency. But unfortunately, when he became president, it didn't work out for him.
Well, I mean, his pre-presidential accomplishments were starting about as young as anybody.
Yeah.
Serving as a secretary to the minister to Russia as a teenager, and then serving in a series of diplomatic posts in his own right.
Yeah, he goes all over.
Netherlands, Prussia, Russia,
Great Britain,
negotiating the Treaty of Ghent. Part of that team, serving in the Senate there, and then Secretary of State. Of course, number 1 on our list of top 5 secretaries of state.
Yeah, got the Monroe Doctrine. Monumental pre-presidential accomplishments. JQA, one of the best cards for this category. Nixon was vice president and kept a dog that he got as a gift.
Yeah. He didn't give that dog back.
Yeah, that's right. But,
Obviously,
obviously...
we make fun, but that was a huge moment.
Yeah, he was a pretty successful vice president.
It's one of the most the first biggest successful use of television by a politician.
Yeah. Not too shabby. Of course, he ended up looking pretty bad on television in 1960 when he didn't wear any stage makeup. He had kind of like 3 o'clock shadow going. He's sweating. And Kennedy, you look over at him, and Kennedy inspiring the confidence of the country. But, yeah, I think this one's a no-brainer. This one goes to JQA.
Yeah. Nixon was one of our top 5 vice presidents.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he was pretty good, but he's no JQA.
Certainly not. That's going to bring us to Best Businessman.
I'm going George Washington.
Oh, not too bad. And I'm going with, well, you know, maybe in a different time, somebody that could have worked for him, Barack Obama.
And we're back, discussing George Washington versus Barack Obama in the category of Best Businessman.
That's right.
I've got George Washington, and really, I think probably one of the best businessmen presidents.
Yeah.
He, you know, born into a landed Virginia family, but really very minor in terms of the landed Virginia gentry.
That's
and
it.
really worked his way up, getting into the business of surveying at the right time when Western land was the next big boom.
Yeah.
He got to see all the land firsthand and bought up a lot of good land that ended up being worth a lot of money later. Made one of the best, most shrewd business moves in choosing his wife,
Yeah.
who brought huge tracts of land,
Indeed.
and then just kind of running his businesses very effectively. A lot of the other, you know, Virginia plantation owning presidents ended up in a lot of debt.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
might
look
think
at
that
Jefferson and Monroe.
That owning a plantation is you can just like sit back and kick up your feet and count money, but a lot of them looked rich but were in huge amounts of debt, whereas
Yeah.
Washington actually like ran it efficiently.
Yeah. I
He
mean,
diversified his portfolio and
his distillery was
Right.
the largest,
ended up with the
you know, for a
most
time there.
lucrative distillery there towards the end. And then, unlike any of the other slave-owning presidents, freeing them all in his will,
Yeah.
which nobody else did.
Yeah. So, that can be said. As for Barack Obama and business, not too much there. I kind of felt trapped in this category here. But, yeah, he was a lawyer. And his books sell. And if you look at politics as a business, he's one of the better ones.
Yep.
But, I mean, there's no real business dealings in his life that are going to hold a candle to George Washington.
Yeah, well, it's going to have to be true.
That's it.
We're going to have to give this one to George Washington.
That's it.
Moving on to the category Most Accomplished Children.
Yeah.
And I was stuck with Lyndon B. Johnson.
And I was stuck with William McKinley, whose 2 daughters died. So,
Well, I'm going to have to turn to the complete book of U.S. presidents to see anything about Lyndon Johnson's children. Oh, he had 2 daughters, Linda Bird Johnson and Lucy Baines Johnson.
that's right, of course, his lovely wife, Lady Bird.
That's right. Linda Bird dated actor George Hamilton. That's quite an accomplishment. She was a contributing editor for the Ladies' Home Journal, and President Carter named her chairperson of the National Advisory Committee for Women.
Not bad.
Lucy Baines Johnson converted to Roman Catholicism, got divorced. That's about all that is listed for her.
Yeah, unfortunately, Catherine, Katie McKinley, and Ida McKinley, the McKinley's two daughters, both died in infancy.
Ouch.
Yeah, pretty tragic there.
So, Linda Bird gonna take it.
Indeed.
Lyndon B. helping me stage a potential comeback.
That's it.
In this game.
Well, anything can happen in presidential war.
Now we're moving on.
And 3 more cards apiece, 3 more categories.
The first being looks.
Alrighty. Which of these presidents is better looking?
I'm going Millard Fillmore.
I'm going Rutherford Hayes. Had the best presidential beard, I think.
That's true. If you're into beards, you gotta go Hayes.
Yeah.
Hayes also in his younger beardless pictures pretty good looking.
Yeah, he's not an unattractive man. And Millard Fillmore, he sure made Queen Vic swoon.
That's true.
She referred to him as the most handsome man she'd ever met.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yep.
And it doesn't really say much for the good looks of British men at the time.
Well,
I'm sure she'd seen hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of them.
yeah. And,
Millard Fillmore standing out.
Yeah. And of course, you got to remember that Queen Victoria was wider than she was tall.
Well, her eyes worked
Yeah.
until she got cataracts, but that was well after she saw Millard Fillmore.
Right.
Need to tell Prince Albert to get back in the can, because Millard Fillmore is the man of the hour.
Yep, there you go. Millard Fillmore gets compared to Alec Baldwin a lot. That's a meme.
It's true.
I feel like Hayes might be the better built of the two.
Yeah, he probably was a little more in shape.
Well, his physical description in the complete book of U.S. presidents might contain something that could give him an edge here. Talks about his deeply set blue eyes, a straight nose, firm lips. Now that's what you want in a man. It's 5'8.5", weighed around 170 to 180 pounds, kind of fluctuating a little.
Well, Fillmore, described in the complete book of U.S. presidents, as a young man, Fillmore was strikingly handsome. 6 feet tall, well-built, with wavy, somewhat unruly hair, light complexion, a high forehead, blue eyes, and determined expression. He dressed meticulously. His health generally was sound.
Sounds like a winner.
Yeah, probably not a lot of presidents in this book described as strikingly handsome.
Yeah, and probably not too many. So I think strikingly handsome is going to win over firm lips.
That's true. The blue eyes were a wash.
That's it.
Fillmore taking it with his striking handsomeness. And that will win this category for me. Moving us on to the next category, Best Educated. I've got James Madison.
Oof. I've got Franklin D. Roosevelt. So, Madison, I mean...
Well, he had the best private tutors in Virginia, getting him to a college preparatory level where he was already probably well beyond college graduates and even doctoral graduates of today, already knowing Latin and Greek and what have you before he goes to college. Then he goes to the College of New Jersey at Princeton, one of the most prestigious institutions at the time. He was very studious there, and then ended up staying on at Princeton after he graduated to continue studying Hebrew and philosophy. Studied a little bit of law thereafter as well.
JQA, I think, is a close rival, and Thomas Jefferson's up there.
Yeah, they're certainly up there.
Very, very intelligent is James Madison.
Yeah. And he really got the best education you could get at the time.
Yeah. FDR, on the other hand, is, his family's loaded, so he's got a whole slew of private tutors. He attends just one public school at Bad Nauheim, Germany. He studied there for 6 weeks while abroad with his parents. At Groton, he's an above-average student, but far from brilliant, according to the complete book of U.S. presidents. He generally performed in the 75th to 80th percentile. Directed a summer camp for disadvantaged youth. Played in W.S. Gilbert's The Wedding March as Uncle Boppity, an aging country bumpkin. His final report card read, quote, "He has been a thoroughly faithful scholar and a most satisfactory member of this school throughout his course." And Harvard, still kind of average, mostly low B's and C's. It seems like he had a good education. He had access to a lot of great shit, but
Right. These two
he
both
does about average.
Yeah, both going to like the best institutions you can go to at the time. Madison probably studying harder.
Yeah.
Definitely more into it in the kind of intellectual minutia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think FDR was sticking around after graduation to perfect his Hebrew.
Right.
I don't think he could care less about those kinds of things.
Yeah. He was conversant in French and German, but it's I don't think it quite holds up.
Conversant in Latin and Greek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think he holds up to James Madison there.
Madison gonna take this one.
Game could be quickly turning around.
Well, as we move on to our third category, I found myself up against a wall in what I feel is rather unfair way.
Well,
Our category is most underrated, and I've got Abraham Lincoln.
oof.
See, I drew Lincoln here. You'd think he'd be the best one of the best cards you can have in the game. The three categories I had to choose from were looks. He is notoriously considered ugly.
Yeah.
Best educated. He notoriously received no education.
Yeah.
And then most underrated. He's ranked number 1. How can you be underrated?
Yeah, wow, what a drag. That's like the worst possible scenario for your Lincoln card.
Well,
He's going up against John Tyler.
well, he's probably gonna lose.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because while Lincoln was holding together the Union, John Tyler was joining the Confederacy.
That's right.
And yet he's going to beat Lincoln in this category.
Yeah, I would argue that, as President Tyler's probably underrated.
Oh, yeah. And the C-SPAN historian amalgamation of rankings, they got him at number 39.
Okay, so that's pretty low.
They have only Harding, Pierce, Andy Johnson, and James Buchanan below him, which is like pretty much like as bad as you can get.
Yeah.
And I think somewhat uncalled for.
Yeah.
He's, they've got Hoover above him, along with
Even William Henry Harrison.
William Henry Harrison
is right above him.
Yeah. If you listen to episode 10, you'd see that you think we're kind of John Tyler fans as president.
Yeah. John Tyler did all right. He'd be, maybe at the end of our series we'll do our own presidential ranking list, and we'll see where he ends up there. It's not going to be at number 39, I don't think.
Yeah.
But going up against Lincoln here, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He's going to take
it. John Tyler getting one over on Abraham Lincoln.
The South is redeemed.
Feels like a Presidential Wrestling Federation episode.
Yeah. 3 more categories coming up. Let's see what kind of battles we'll get into here. Okay. So first up, we got most like to meet. I've got JFK, who I would have really liked to have met on November 23rd, 1963.
It would be a very interesting autopsy to witness.
Yeah, it was a tough choice to make because I don't
Yeah.
know if I'd really actually like to hang out with Jack Kennedy.
I don't know. I'm going Franklin Pierce.
Yeah, I mean, I'd personally rather meet Pierce than Kennedy, I think.
These
I
are,
mean,
two presidents that would have been great to have in the looks category. Considered two of the hottest presidents.
yeah.
Also, probably would be fun presidents to party with.
Yeah.
At least early Franklin Pierce, before his partying became very solitary and sad.
Yeah. Yeah, JFK, I feel like he'd probably, look down on me and, run off with fiddle and faddle as soon as he had a chance.
Well, I mean, he'd probably be, pretty charming if he's looking at you as a potential voter. He'd probably make you feel good.
Yeah.
Franklin Pierce, also very charming as a politician. These two pretty personally charismatic.
Oh, yeah. I think Franklin Pierce would just be maybe more relatable than Jack Kennedy.
Yeah, Pierce, known as a very, really very warm and affectionate friend. He'd probably give you the shirt off his back.
Mm-hmm.
JFK probably wouldn't be wearing a shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
He'd give you the shirt off the nearest woman's back.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that, he was a fine man. But I think, I had a hard time picking categories for this one.
Well, yeah, it's tough when you only got 3 cards and 3 categories.
That's it. It could turn out to be a really botched decision.
Well,
We'll see.
yeah, I mean, I'd agree with you on giving Pierce a slight edge here.
Yeah.
Maybe you could hang out with him and Nathaniel Hawthorne.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Indeed.
Moving on to the category Best President Overall. Wish I had that Lincoln card this time.
Yeah.
Instead, I've got James Monroe.
And I've got first term Grover Cleveland. Both pretty successful presidents. Well, Cleveland, not so much the second term, but he won the popular vote 3 times, and that's pretty big. And James Monroe was virtually unopposed
Yeah.
when he ran for re-election. The era of good feelings is going on. People be feeling good. And, Cleveland, of course, the veto president, trying to reestablish some presidential control.
Yeah. Monroe not having to veto too much. I think he probably vetoed one of those internal improvements bills on constitutional grounds. Otherwise, getting along, well, had to weather the Missouri Compromise of 1820. That's when the good feelings began to dissipate.
Right.
Well, momentarily, at least for him. The bad taste in the mouth of that would linger for 40-some years, but
Yeah.
he got us through that incident relatively unscathed.
That's it. Yep.
And yeah, probably didn't deal with as much adversity as the presidents before or after him, but
Yeah.
he was a pretty steady hand. And then, of course, the Monroe Doctrine, a pretty huge statement.
Yeah.
A lot of credit to that goes, of course, to Secretary of State John Quincy Adams, but hey, you got to credit Monroe with choosing him as Secretary of State when he was the son of the last non-Virginia Republican president. Kind of the party lines were very blurred at the time, but
Yeah.
a bipartisan, cross-partisan kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With,
Got acquired Florida
yeah, it's true.
by taking John Quincy Adams' advice to back Andrew Jackson's little invasion there,
Yeah.
which was not necessarily authorized. Some say maybe winked at by James Monroe.
Yeah.
But got that Florida that James Monroe personally had been trying to get since he was an ambassador under the Jefferson administration.
That's it. You got Grover Cleveland coming into office at a time when Democrats had been pretty helpless for a long time. Coming back in there a little bit, trying to just reestablish the role of the presidency, in a sense, because you had a stretch there where Congress was really king. And of course, utilizing the veto as he did, he's of the mindset, maybe kind of similar to Coolidge in a way, where it's good to stop bad bills from becoming laws.
Yeah.
He also landed a 21-year-old bride in the White House. That's fun.
It's a pretty big presidential accomplishment.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're looking at overall, then I guess, you would have to talk about Cleveland's second term, which is not remotely successful.
No.
He had a pretty miserable second term. The worst financial depression and panic up until that time, panic in 1893, things were not looking so hot in the second term. Also, of course, his clandestine jaw surgery.
Yeah.
Going on in the second term.
Yeah, we'll be getting to that in our next presidential episode. This war episode falling between the two big Cleveland episodes.
That's it.
Our listeners just heard all about Benjamin Harrison, the interregnum between the two Clevelands.
Yep.
Yeah, Cleveland's first term definitely
if you
pretty
look
good.
at it standalone, it's one of the better single terms.
Yeah, but then ironically he lost re-election.
Yeah.
To a guy that he ended up beating next time around.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Well, Cleveland, yeah, he's a hard figure to rank.
He is.
Because he's got those
he seems to,
two separate presidencies.
Yeah. He seems to fluctuate a little bit on rankings. He's usually closer to the top of the middle than not, I think.
I think our ranking from C-SPAN here has him at number 23, which is slightly below middle. I think we've talked about him before as being somewhat underrated on this. James Monroe coming in at 13. Seems about right.
Yeah, that sounds
Although
about
there
right.
are several people ranked above him on here that probably should not be, but
Yeah. Yeah, you'll have that.
I think I'd say he probably edges out Grover Cleveland on best president overall.
Yeah, I would think so.
So, he's going to take this category. And then we've got most accomplished vice president. I had to go with Woodrow Wilson.
I went with George W. Bush, whom our listeners know had Dick Cheney as vice president, who has the accomplishment of making both the top 5 best and top 5 worst vice presidential lists, even though in an honorary capacity.
He was an honorable mention on both lists. Woodrow Wilson's vice president only honorably mentioned on the worst list.
Yeah.
Thomas Marshall, he was governor of Indiana before becoming vice president. Didn't really get along with Wilson all that much, and then didn't step in when Wilson stroked out.
Yeah.
Some cabinet members and members of Congress wanting him to step up and serve as acting president. He didn't want any part of that.
Yeah.
And things just kind of muddled along with Edith Wilson wearing her husband's clothes.
Pretty much.
as she did in the Presidential Wrestling Federation, but kind of in real life as well. his accomplishments before being vice president, I mean, I don't know. He was governor of Indiana. The complete book of U.S. presidents says that he established a child labor law and accomplished prison reform. Previously practiced law before that. Not much to speak of.
Yeah, I mean, Dick Cheney had been around for a long time.
I mean,
in politics, and obviously his role as vice president was pretty extreme.
Right.
In terms of, the power that he had.
Yeah. Yeah, just his pre-vice presidential career, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Serving as White House chief of staff under Ford.
Yeah.
Then in the House of Representatives from Wyoming, becoming minority whip. Then Secretary of Defense under George H.W. Bush.
That's it.
Serving as CEO of Halliburton. Then leading George W. Bush's vice presidential search.
Yeah.
Before finding the candidate in the mirror.
Yeah, that's it.
And becoming definitely the most powerful vice president ever, for better or worse.
Yeah.
For better and worse.
Yeah. That's it.
But definitely going to beat the pants off of Thomas Marshall.
Yeah.
Who's basically getting shot in the face in this category.
Yeah, basically. And 3 more categories and 3 more cards apiece. See what we got to work with here. Oh, man. This is really hard. It's going to be so funny if I do this. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Well,
I'm gonna do it. The hell with it. All right. So first up, we got biggest election victories.
Yeah. We'll see here. I drew 3 presidents who are pretty much universally ranked in the bottom half of presidents, but I think they might work out in these categories.
I think no matter what I did here, I was going to lose every time, but we'll see.
Biggest election victories. I'm going Warren Harding.
I went Thomas Jefferson.
Oh.
I mean,
well, Thomas Jefferson lost in 1796.
Yeah.
Won pretty narrowly in 1800 over Adams and over Burr.
Yeah.
As we've talked about before.
Right.
And then in 1804, just destroyed.
Yeah.
One of the Pinckneys.
Yeah,
I don't even,
Charles
you don't
Cotesworth
even
Pinckney,
remember who it was, because it was not a serious challenge at all.
Yeah.
So, pretty big there. And then you got Warren Harding, who came in 1920, winning, of course, a much different era and a much different style of presidential election, but he won 61% of the popular vote.
Yep, and you got to remember, this is the first time that the ladies get to vote.
It's true.
And they went resoundingly for the Harding-Coolidge ticket.
Yeah. Ohio, his opponent also
It's
from
James Cox. They're both Ohio newspapermen.
Also from Ohio.
Yep, and also ran a newspaper.
Wow.
Yeah.
He got only 35% of the vote.
Yep.
Well, socialist Eugene V. Debs getting 3%. Harding, 61%. Electoral College 404 to 127.
It's a pretty crushing victory.
Yeah, pretty crushing. Let's take a look. I want to take a look at 1804. Jefferson carrying the Electoral College 162 to 14. Yeah, it's hard to say. Much different era. Not really like campaigning at the time. Popular vote, not really a thing yet.
Yeah.
He won, really the state legislatures allocating the votes at the time. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something to be said, because his party would maintain a monopoly of overpower for several more elections, really.
That's it. I think
you got to weigh that against his very narrow 1800 victory,
Yeah.
and then his maybe even throw his earlier loss into the mix.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm feeling like maybe Warren G's got the edge.
Yeah, I think he does. He's not going to beat Thomas Jefferson in probably anything substantive during the presidency.
Yeah.
Jefferson probably even fathering more children out of wedlock than Warren Harding.
Yeah. Ah, boy. And next up, we got post-presidential accomplishments.
I've got Jimmy Carter.
Okay. I've got Andrew Jackson. So, Jimmy Carter, very accomplished post-presidential life. A lot of help for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Just an all-around
And just, a very
good person.
very statesman-like
Yeah.
post-presidency.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised you didn't opt with him for the last category.
Well, I couldn't use Warren Harding or my next card in post-presidential accomplishments. Let's just say.
Yeah.
Um,
Andrew Jackson, I mean, still remaining the...
I'm surprised you didn't choose Jackson for the next category.
Yeah, well, yeah, wait till you see who I did choose. It's
Yeah.
even more funny.
Well,
But,
spoiler alert, the next category is nicest guy.
Yeah.
So, Jimmy Carter, very nice guy. Andrew Jackson, not
not
so much. I
You're
mean,
not known for
I'm
being
sure,
a real nice
if
guy.
you were his friend, he's probably nice. If you
Yeah.
were his enemy, he would destroy you.
Yeah, pretty much.
And if you were Jimmy Carter's enemy, you destroyed him.
Yeah. And, Jackson's post-presidential life he's pretty heavily involved in the politics of the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's still kind of the kingmaker type.
pretty much. And, he lives to see his protege, James K. Polk, elected.
Mm-hmm.
He was definitely, if you didn't have Andrew Jackson's blessing, you probably weren't going to get nominated on the Democratic ticket anywhere,
Yeah. Yeah, his proteges, Van Buren and Polk, were the next two nominees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter, though.
Jimmy Carter...
The longest post-presidency
Yeah.
and counting as of the time of this recording.
He's done way more work with, Habitat for Humanity and stuff, where Jackson probably would have burned down the Habitat for Humanity if it was in his way.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter winning the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002.
Yeah, Andrew Jackson could never have won a Nobel Peace Prize.
No, he would win the Nobel War Prize, though.
Yeah. And I think we could very easily say Jimmy Carter is going to take this one.
Yep. Jimmy Carter beating Andrew Jackson.
That's it.
Don't see that every day.
And I've been holding back a laugh about this one since we first flipped the cards, but he didn't really fit well anywhere.
Yeah.
So for nicest guy, I'm going with Andy Johnson.
I'm going Zachary Taylor.
Okay, well, you win. but I'm sure Andy Johnson was a nice guy to his close friends.
Yep. He was very affable giving his vice presidential inaugural speech.
Yeah.
When he was half a bottle deep.
Yeah. Frederick Douglass recalled first meeting Andrew Johnson, and somebody pointed Douglass out to Johnson, and Johnson didn't think that Frederick Douglass was looking at him, and he was, and he said that the look on his face was like just one of pure contempt. And then when Johnson noticed that he was looking, he kind of like changed his expression a little bit.
Yeah.
And Frederick Douglass decided that whatever that man is, he is not a friend to our people.
Yeah, he could turn on his politician charm.
Yeah.
I'm sure, and was known as a good stump speaker, but
Yeah.
he was known for his ability to tear down his opponents in speeches more than being a personally nice guy.
Yeah.
And of course, we got his card here. He's got his classic resting Reconstruction face
Right.
scowl on.
That's it. I think Zachary Taylor would be a much more congenial person.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty... Complete Book of Presidents calls him genuinely warm, open, and plain-spoken. Said to be a bit shy before new acquaintances. Was inherently gracious, even gallant where women were concerned. He was an affable and agreeable host. True to the Virginia-Kentucky tradition of unstudied gentlemanliness.
Yep, and sticking with the Complete Book of Presidents and what they have to say on Johnson. Simple and direct in manner, speaks bluntly, and appears cold to some. Generally reserved and sober, but he went out of his way to remain on friendly terms with old acquaintances, and he often loaned money out to people down on their luck. Because of his own common roots, he tended to identify with the underdog, pretty much shunning Washington society and preferring the company of old friends. Yet, he was ever polite and carried himself with great dignity. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know. There was a lot of people that Andy Johnson didn't like. Mm-hmm. You know, if you were somebody salt of the earth, you know, like he was, maybe you'd get on fine. Mm-hmm. But if you have money, he's probably going to not like you. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. He probably was nice to the people he liked, but there were a lot of people he didn't like.
Yeah.
He had a chip on his shoulder when it came to wide swaths of the population.
Yeah.
On both a racial and wealth basis.
Yeah. You know, of course, Zachary Taylor did own slaves, which isn't very nice. But,
yeah, but he did vehemently oppose the spread of slavery.
Yeah.
You know, to be fair, Andy Johnson, also a Southerner who placed Union above slavery.
Right.
Which was rare at the time.
That's it. I don't know. If you're going to go to, you know, the theater with one of them, I think you'd prefer to go in Zachary Taylor's company.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we give it to him.
And Zachary Taylor's going to take it.
Alrighty, we're down to our last 4 cards apiece and last 4 categories. We'll just go ahead and do all 4.
Yeah, we're going to go 4 cards in a hand and 4 categories to give us lots of variety here. And
Okay. So we're going to start with biggest partier.
I'm going James Buchanan.
And I'm going biggest guy at the party, William Howard Taft.
Wow.
So technically he could be the biggest partier.
Well, semantically, that's true.
Yep.
James Buchanan, a pretty big guy as well. And as our listeners know, number 5 on our top 5 drunkest presidents.
That's right. He enjoyed Scotch in particular.
Yeah.
It could hold it. Indeed. Notoriously well.
Yeah.
Taft, I don't know about too much like real carousing, you know, but I'm sure he enjoyed a good dinner party.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. He could probably go through the hams and sausages as adroitly as Buchanan went through the cases of Scotch.
Yeah, that's it. I think Buchanan probably enjoyed the social functions more than Taft would have, perhaps.
Yeah, Buchanan, pretty, like, classic, like, politician at the time, so he was undoubtedly in a lot of back rooms with cigars and whiskey.
Yeah.
Wheeling and dealing.
That's it.
Hanging out in the bachelor's mess with all of his southern friends.
Yeah.
Not having any wife to drag him down in terms of partying, like a Franklin Pierce may have had.
Yeah.
Kept himself free. He didn't have anyone to nag him when he got home plastered.
That's it. Yeah, I think Buchanan would probably have the edge here.
Yeah, Taft seems like a fun guy.
Oh, yeah.
He liked to golf. He liked to go to a baseball game. Liked to go to the theater. Complete Book of U.S. Presidents says he seldom drank.
Yeah.
Not that drinking is synonymous with partying.
That's it. Described as cheerful, friendly, a typical hail fellow well met, with an infectious chuckle. Always popular, he had many friends, but surprisingly few intimates. And that leads to him, of course, facing a lot of his troubles on his own, and resulting in him not being a very happy president. But, yeah, sure Taft would be a good presence at the party, but I think Buchanan would be doing more partying.
Yeah, I'd agree. Buchanan's gonna take it. Which is gonna bring us to our next category. Who would win in a fight? I'm going James Garfield.
Oh, I'm going Benjamin Harrison.
Wow.
I think Garfield was built a bit better. I mean, these are both tough guys.
Bearded Civil War veterans.
That, you know.
Guys who rose to general
That's it.
in their Civil War prowess.
I think the thing that makes me lean towards Garfield is Harrison's only 5'6". He's got a pretty sizable paunch by the time he's president, and the complete book of U.S. presidents describes him as having, like, kind of short, stubby legs and, like, a, you know, kind of barrel-chested paunch, you know. Garfield, pretty physically fit.
Yeah, he stood 6 feet tall, weighed 185 pounds, described as a muscular, robust figure.
Yeah. I think it's going to give him the edge over Ben Harrison here.
Yeah, I think Garfield probably more towards the top tier of presidents in terms of maybe physical prowess for walking into a fight.
That's it.
I think he's probably gonna stick it to Ben Harrison.
Yeah, it could be a good fight, Harrison. You know, he'd probably be brave, but I don't think that would be enough.
Yeah.
James Garfield wins this fight.
He's got the reach advantage.
Indeed.
He's going to reach for a victory in this hand. Which brings us to, who would you rather have date your daughter?
I went with Calvin Coolidge.
Well, I went with Herbert Hoover.
Interesting. Well,
Two members of the same administrations.
that's it.
Classic 20s Republicans. Both seem like pretty all-around nice guys.
That's it. I like Coolidge's wit, and you know he's going to be fiscally responsible. He's not going to be cavalier with your daughter's finances. He's a man of few words, but there's nothing wrong with that. As he said, you never have to apologize for something you didn't say. And also, I mean, Coolidge pretty successful there. He never lost an election.
Well, Hoover only lost one election.
That's
His
true.
attempt to be reelected after a pretty dismal presidency, but his career up till then, very successful.
Indeed.
He'd probably be also pretty good with your daughter's money if she had any, and would probably bring a decent amount of his own in there. I think both of these guys had pretty solid marriages.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Coolidge and his wife Grace, a great example of opposites attracting.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not like Coolidge shut himself up and didn't do anything. I mean, they went to ball games and they went to the theater and they did all sorts of stuff. Calvin Coolidge was incredibly popular when he was president. Hoover's work during World War I is pretty admirable.
Hoover, of course, was a Quaker.
Yeah.
His wife, Lou, was raised Episcopalian, converted to Quakerism. So, Hoover might be converting your daughter to Quakerism.
Yeah.
I don't know if you like that or not, but that's a thing.
Yeah.
I don't have anything bad to say about Quakers.
Mhm.
They're peaceful.
Indeed. Just look at the Quaker Oats guy.
Yeah.
It's like if Mike Pence grew his hair out.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, Coolidge, I think, understands the value of an honest day's toil. There's a great story about Calvin Coolidge Jr. Working on a tobacco field one summer when his father was president. And some of the kids that were working with him said, if my dad was president of the United States, I wouldn't be working on a tobacco farm. And Calvin Jr. said, if your dad was my dad, you would.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
That's probably why those kids' dads didn't become president. They weren't hardworking enough.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, but I don't know. I think Coolidge is one of the ones he's kind of filled with pearls of wit and wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, I mean,
he's shrewd and thrift.
yeah, I guess, kind of knowing what we are allowed to know in hindsight about these guys. I mean, I think they're both really nice. They'd both treat our daughters very well, but Coolidge, the better president. Coolidge in the top 5 funniest presidents.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably ultimately rather have him as a son-in-law.
I'm leaning towards it.
Yeah, I'd give Coolidge a slight edge here.
Yeah.
Be happy to have my daughter become Mrs. Coolidge.
Indeed. That brings us to the final category. Who would you pick first in flag football?
Well, this one was kind of my odd man out of these 4, because I've got James K. Polk.
And he's going up against Jerry Ford.
Well,
And
I'm going to make an argument on behalf of Polk here.
yeah.
Or not. Jerry Ford turned down a career in the NFL.
Yeah.
Was an All-American. I mean,
Go blue.
Jerry Ford probably wins. I mean, definitely the best card in this category. Might win this category as clearly as any president can win in any category.
Yeah, and James K. Polk, you probably wouldn't even be able to pick for the flag football game because he'd be holed up in a bathroom somewhere.
Yeah. He would not be a very good football player. Pretty small, pretty frail. Rather on the sickly side.
Yeah.
Unless he, I don't know, slipped Jerry Ford a roofie before the game. He's going down hard in this category.
Indeed. Gotta give it to Jerry Ford.
Well, I'm glad I didn't try to save anyone good for that category. Because they were going down to Jerry Ford.
That's it. And that is going to bring us to the card count. And we're back with the results. I finished up with 18 cards,
And I had 26.
making James J. Hamilton the victor yet again.
Yep. Started off in a hole there on the first few hands, but my presidents came through.
That's it.
With the notable exception of Abraham Lincoln, who failed miserably in this game.
Yeah.
I made it through with Warren Harding and Jimmy Carter and James Buchanan prevailing uncharacteristically. Well, that's presidential war for you.
That's it.
We removed from the game the early categories of like foreign policy and domestic policy accomplishments, thus clearing the way for James Buchanan to win a hand.
That's right. But as always, the real winner is you, our listeners.
Yeah. And Stephen Lincoln Douglas, maybe perhaps you were right when you said that your chances of winning a game of presidential war were lower than your chances of being murdered by the Clintons.
Well, I don't know if you're necessarily right about.
And I'm back. This has been another episode of Presidential War for the Dead Presidents podcast. I am James J. Hamilton for myself and on behalf of my colleague, Stephen Lincoln Douglas. We thank you for listening and hope you tune in next time.